All right, we're going live. We're live. What's up, Restoration Rebel Nation? Andy McCabe here. Joe Spears over there. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for October 27th, 2022. We're going to get to the agreements as soon as I can share my screen. I'm going to get through this thing. I want to be quick today. I just want to get in, get out, and get on with life. Sounds like my college career. Here we go. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. It's huge, huge. And Clark Brown on, I was on Clark Brown's podcast, Restoration. I forget his podcast name. Anyway, yesterday we were talking about that. Agreement number 4, I'm willing to walk away. There he is. You're in the Discord. I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that's not compatible with my values and stated mission, because we are who we are. You know what, Joe? What you know what Clark told me yesterday?
What?
He was very kind. He was very kind. It was fun to chit chat with him. OG Rebel guys. He said somebody had to do it. We were talking about all the grief that we went through early on in the Restoration Rebels, and he said, yeah, the one thing, hate Andy McCabe, or like Andy McCabe or whatever, or tell Andy McCabe to go jump off a bridge. Nobody else was saying anything up until that point in our industry. Nobody was saying anything, and somebody had to say it. And I commented back. One of my favorite movies is Moneyball, and in the end of that movie, Brad Pitt, manager of Oakland A's, sitting with the owner of the New York Giants. I think that's how it went. The story of that, I just like the Moneyball story, because here's a guy that was taking a completely different foreign system and trying to apply it to baseball, and everyone hated him for it until it worked. It started working. But anyway, so Brad Pitt's sitting there with the owner of New York Jets, and the owner of New York Jets says, the first person through the wall always gets bloody. Always. But if all the teams in the league were not breaking down their whole system to try to integrate this new knowledge right now, they were out to lunch. So I like to think that's what we've done here with the Restoration Rebels. We have broken through that wall. We've got bloody. We took the hits early that we knew we were going to take, and we took some hits that we probably didn't anticipate taking. But now the door is open. Now the wall is broken down, and everyone behind us can walk through that and start applying the things that we've learned to do in order to make our lives better, make our businesses better, and make the industry better. So that's what I got to say about that. What's new with you, man?
Not a whole lot. It's the same thing every day, writing estimates and making them so, or using the system the way it's supposed to be used, to the point that literally I'm getting hardly any kickbacks from TPAs or adjusters of any kind, because literally, like, they just don't know how to argue it at this point anymore. It seems like they're just like, okay, this is way beyond what we're used to dealing with, and we're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
I talked to you guys a while back about the item scenario thing with the changes and all. Like, I've been using that, and do it for change orders and stuff. And I had an estimate. I literally had an estimate where it came in January. When I originally estimated, it was like 140-ish. It's TPA through Code Blue.
Okay.
I just went through and re-scrubbed through it over, based on everything I've learned just this year alone and how to manipulate the system. I got it up to 240 and it got approved. So I was like, yay.
Okay, good. We also had somebody in the group made a post here recently talking about a good interaction with Code Blue. I think it's worth bringing up. Let me see if I can scroll down to it. Had a pleasant call from Code Blue. All right, let's get into this thing. Yeah, looks like they gave up. They had them move. I see you have 0.5 for a cleaning technician. Yes, we do. Do you mind if I move that half hour to equipment setup and takedown? Fine, no problem. Okay, I can get behind that. I see you also have a minimum charge for cleaning technician selected. Yes, my mistake. I'll take it out. I don't have a problem with that either, because I think labor minimums, especially on MIT, there's just doesn't apply. It's not a good application for labor minimums. But here's what I do have a problem with. He says, last and final adjustment, I see you have an extra large dehumidifier in the hallway. IICRC calculations say large would be adequate. Yes, we only have extra large dehumidifiers. But then he agreed with the adjustment. He changed the sizing of his equipment on his invoice in order to make this happen. Yeah, everyone's got to make their own business decisions here. Everyone has to do what's best in the moment and long term for themselves and their business. But getting on the slippery slope, that is, I'm going to allow a third party to negotiate outside of my contract and reduce my invoice. I'm all for cleaning up things, making things more accurate, cleaning them up, making, there's mistakes made every day on estimating and invoicing, absolutely. But what I don't like is this willingness to just kind of go, okay, we'll do that. And what was that? What do you think that was on a day? The difference between the extra large DHU and a large DHU, is it $50? $50 a day?
A DHM 57, $20 a day.
Yeah.
Now I am going to be a devil's advocate here against you here, Andy, in this situation.
Right. Hit me with it. Yeah, talk to me.
I always calculate out my DHU requirements based on the PPD requirements and everything else. Now,
regardless of what was actually used on the job site.
Now it's one thing if like on day one, the humidity is so high, I'm bringing in a second DHU for 24 hours to bring that bulk moisture down and then kicking it out. I don't have a problem with that, but on the overall dry out time, I base it off of what the PPD requirement is. It's not my fault. It's not anyway. I mean, from a devil's advocate point of view, I'm sorry that you guys decided to buy only XL DHUs. It makes sense. I mean, they're the most uniform, but I mean, that's like saying I need to buy, just because you have the XLs. I mean, it's not like you bought it specifically for that job. You're doing a rental charge on that piece of equipment. I personally think that you should charge for, if you're trying to be in compliance with the IICRC, you should be charging what the PPD requirements is. And just because you only have XLs, if it requires one XL and one regular, you should charge for that there, because that's the proper PPD. Because otherwise, my counter argument would be, well, if you're oversizing your DHUs, wouldn't you be pulling more moisture quicker? So therefore, your dry time would go down just a little bit.
It probably would.
And
it probably did.
You're still seeing 3 to 5 days on most estimates, no matter what. Like it's a couple of hours difference between.
Yeah, you can't make that. You can't make that broad brush assumption about every single MIT invoice across the land every day. You can't say that.
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's not a broad statement, but I mean, like I said, I've always wrote where, I go to my main folder for the sketch, and I mean, I just type in WTR, DHM, and I'll put in my calculation V divided by 50 for a class 2. Whatever that number equals out, that's my PPD requirement. It's quick and easy, and then I can say 159 for an XL. Next one's a large or whatever, and I mean, that's how I've always done it that way there, because I mean, counter argument, why aren't we buying more different size DHUs to have a more robust selection of equipment that we have? It's like say, choosing only to have only centrifugals or only axials. Like,
well, it's diminishing returns. It's an additional layer of complication that's unnecessary, in my opinion. It's redundant and doesn't really, going out and saying, I'm going to buy 3 different sizes of DHUs, and then I'm going to make that technician every single time. He's got to carry 3 different sizes on his truck, and he's got to make that decision of, I mean, you're adding so many unnecessary decisions to your process on a daily basis. And those are going to add up over a year to be like, why are we even doing this? Let's just keep it simple.
Here's a good analogy for you. If I go to the gas station, we got 3 kinds of gas, right? Regular, premium, premium plus. If the gas station runs all out of premium, every gas station will sell the premium, the middle grade, at the price of the regular because they ran out of it. They don't keep it the same price because they ran out. Same basis, just because we only have XLs, why are we, if we don't need the XL, but that's all we have, why isn't it? It's just rental. It's not like there's any labor included in it. And it's not like I said, it's different. It'd be one thing if you had to go out specifically for this job and go out and buy brand new equipment and you had a receipt saying, hey, we had to go buy new equipment, or, if I rented it from Sunbelt and they only had XL, so I'm passing that charge on to you, that's one thing. But if you're in-house using your equipment, I personally think you should just charge what the PPD requirement is, because it's a choice you make. Yeah, it's a less complicated choice overall, but it's still a choice that you made to only buy one kind of dehumidifier. It's the same thing, like, just because you buy only axials doesn't mean you should set up your air movement based on centrifugal air movement, because they have a lower CFM. So therefore you do 50 instead of 70 square feet. Does that make sense?
Let me throw something else at you. What's the additional cost to me as a restorer to have an extra large DHU running on a job site for a day versus a large DHU running on a job site for a day? Zero.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's no additional charge. So what's behind the additional cost?
Because it's just a larger rental charge, because it's a larger piece of equipment and they cost
Because
more
it
money.
costs more.
Brand new.
It costs more. It costs more to buy it. So on a depreciation schedule and in a capital expense schedule, that costs more, so you charge more. That's the reason behind it. But if we're talking about making things simple and just going with whatever the PPD is, why don't we just choose one rate regardless of size of dehumidifier?
Well, I'll put it this way here. An extra large dehumidifier. Okay, hang on, let me look here. And a large dehumidifier. Okay, so I'm in an estimate right now. $57 for a regular DHU, $77 for a large, $120 for an extra large. So $120. Now a brand new Phoenix R200 Max, which is an extra large DHU, costs $23.59. Let's just say divide, that means 20 jobs. After 20 times of using a DHU, you've paid it. It's all pure profit at that point. So like I said, I agree. Maybe it should be a flat fee, but it's not like you can, after the 20th job, you can't really say, well, it costs more money, that's why I charge more, and use that pure argument, because you've probably already paid it all. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's a slippery slope either way. I've always just estimated the proper PPD, just like with the air scrubbers. I do volume multiplied by 6 air changes per hour divided by 60. And it's either, if it's $6.99, it's a regular. If it's $700 to $13.99, it's an extra large. Or if they only have 500s, then I'll do 2 regulars and all, and I'll make the calculation based on there, because that's whatever. That's how it works.
But then you're no longer going off of what was actually done. Right?
Okay, well, counter argument. Let's say that the PPD requirement for that, or let's say that a PPD requirement or not PPD, sorry. Let's use air scrubbers, for example. Let's say that the calculation comes out to 700 CFM and you only have 2 500, or you don't have an extra large. You're going to charge for 2 regulars, right?
You're talking CFM or PPD?
Or would you charge for 1 extra large in that situation?
You said CFM. Do you mean PPD?
For air scrubbers. I'm kind of
okay. So what are you calculating to get to your CFM requirement for
6 air changes per hour? So it's
okay.
volume.
So air changes. Changes.
Okay. So you gotta do 6 air changes per hour. So that's your volume multiplied by 6 divided by 60, or multiplied by 0.1, whichever way you want to do it. If I only have 500s, I'm going to charge 500. But if I have an extra large, do you think it's fair to charge for 2 regulars instead of the 1 extra large if I have the extra large, just because I felt like carrying 2 500s instead? Or do you think we as an industry have a due diligence to use, if we do have the equipment, like you say like all you had were or large DHUs, you didn't have any extra large DHUs. Would you still charge for an extra large if all you had was one DHU on the job site and the PPD requirements required it? Does that make sense? What I'm asking? I feel like I'm kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, you lost me, and I'm also trying to follow this Discord channel, which is probably dumb. I'm going to close it down now.
You just need to mute it. I have my Discords always muted.
Oh my God. Yeah. My biggest problem is somebody outside of my company, somebody that's not even working for the insurance company or my insured, outside of the contracts that are in place, is telling me to reduce my bill. And they're using another third party to try to justify that. And
But
at
if
the
you're
end of
also
the day, we either charge for what we did, or we live in this fantasy land where we can magically make our invoice, whatever we invoice for is suddenly what we did, which isn't what we did.
You as a router company or mitigation company are using the IIC guidelines to determine how many DUs and how much equipment you need on a job site. Now you only have extra large DUs, so the job only needs one extra large and one regular DU. You have only extra large DUs, so you set 2 extra larges, and you tell the insurance, that's all I have, so that's what I'm charging for it. How about the counter argument? Well, are you going to give us any kind of a discount since you didn't necessarily need that much equipment and you're still saying it took the same amount of time as, a standard, it's not like, it's not, I mean, it doesn't, we don't give discounts ever in the industry of any kind really to the insurance, which, I mean, you don't really need to, but
No.
I mean, if you're oversetting the equipment, how come it's not taking 2.5 days or, to dry out a house instead of the standard, most people just do 3 days, or 4 days or 5, they do it per 24-hour chunk. No
Sure.
one does it for like, oh, well, the job came in at 8 o'clock and we pulled it at 4 o'clock 3 days later. So that's actually,
some people might,
I mean,
but here's the thing about IICRC. It's at least, it's a minimum. It's a guide that says you need to pull at least this many pints per day. It doesn't say you must pull exactly this many pints per day. So oversizing a drying system by the 40 pints, that's a different from extra large or large, whatever the difference is. Oversizing a drying system by 40 pints is better than undersizing a drying system by 40 pints.
And I'll agree with that.
Right? So, if we under dry a system, underpower a system, turns into mold, who's the bad guy there? It's us. We were there. The mold wasn't there when we showed up. The mold is there now 3 weeks later because we undersized our system. And then we went by your 3 days or 4 days you just mentioned, and we pulled our equipment regardless of what our data said, because we wanted to get along with the insurance company and their third-party bullshitters, and we didn't want to wait for our money. So we undersized the system. We caused a problem that somebody else has to go clean up because we undersize these systems. I would rather overshoot every single time. I want to be 10% beyond what the IRC says for drying. I want to be 10% beyond what my CFM calculations are, because I don't want to leave any doubt that we did what we came there to do. You undersize these things, and that's exactly what you do. You build doubt into your outcomes because you're not doing your full boat.
Well, and I mean, my argument, like I said, I can play devil's advocate all day long. My argument as an estimator, like I said, is if I am going to use what you guys use, it's usually going to be because, let's say, for example, it's a basement and all. The sketch is going to calculate, when I do Xactimate, the sketch is going to calculate off based on the ceilings are 8 foot tall, blah, blah, but they open the ceiling cavity up. So now we have all that extra space that Xactimate doesn't calculate. If you open up an attic, I don't know how many people are calculating the attic space if they open up this into the attic. Like, there's ways to argue it. But downgrading the DHU is things to, for ease of getting your file closed. I mean, it's one thing if you have to take off an entire DHU, like you only had your PPD was for let's see here. Let's say, you know, the requirements came out to 159 times 2, 300. Let's say it came out to 318. That's 2 extra large DUs, and you set 3 extra large DUs. I can see in that kind of a scenario where they're like, hey, look, you only really needed 2, you know. But the biggest problem I see with this stuff here is that nobody bitches to us when we undersize. They bitch at us when we oversize our DUs, but nobody bitches when we undersize our air movement. Every file I've ever seen, for the most part, if you actually do, if you know, if we're all following IIC, if you do the actual calculations for how many air movers you need, most people on average are missing between 5 and 6 air movers minimum on a job. And no one.
I would argue that most people. Joe's warning us. 15 minutes ago, he said he's about to log on. So thanks for the forewarning, Joe. Where are you, man? Oh, there he's waiting. He's waiting in the waiting room. My bad. I should not talk shit until I actually have all the data. Here it is. I think Joe's here. Joe Moberly, welcome to the show, brah. Welcome to the show. As my boys say, brah. Where did that come from, by the way? Where did 12 and 13-year-olds start using this word, brah? It's like, oh, come on, man.
My kid is using it way too much. It's driving me crazy.
It's like, I'm not. First off, it's bro, and second off, I'm not your bro. I'm your father. Talk to me with a little bit.
He called it to his mom, yeah. And I was like, I will put you in the ground if you talk to your mom that way.
Do not. Yeah, I will bury you. I will bury you, son. Okay, so we're in here and here. I think we beat up. You know, this. I mean, I understand. Like I said at the very beginning, this is a business decision. You made a business decision to discount your bill, but don't get it messed up. They took $50 from you. And how many times are they going to come take $50, $100 from you this year? And is it worth it? You got to make that call. You got to make that call. And it might be, if your AR, if you're getting paid in 30 days or less consistently, and you're paying $150 for that, that might make sense. But don't operate under the illusion that it's the technically correct way to do it. The technically correct way to do is bill for what you did and then give a discount if you feel so inclined. But don't, IICRC is here for a minimum. Joe Moberly, why don't you give us your take on that?
On which part?
On this, I don't know how much you caught. So we had a post in the group. Somebody said they had a pleasant conversation with Code Blue. And at the end of the day, through Mr. Spears and I's in-depth analysis of the situation, he gave up. He reduced the sizing of his an LGR from an XL to an L, or double X to an XL. I don't know which. Okay. And gave up $50 willingly. And it was the decision. The reasoning given by Code Blue was as per IICRC. Right, which I'm not doubting the IICRC PPD recommendations would probably, in this situation, he oversized drying system, ostensibly, air quotes, oversized drying system. But at the end of the day, he gave up $50 in order to get paid. I don't think any of us can argue with that. But what's your take on adjusters and Code Blue and third parties using IICRC, quoting IICRC in order to reduce our drying invoices?
Code Blue, for one, just has no room to talk when it comes to enforcing the standards. I say they and all carriers.
Yeah, they're not certified. That's true.
They're seldom certified. They seldom put their credentials out, and when they do, they try and reword and reinterpret the standards so that it fits their schedule of reduction. Now, if you are a program vendor and you're ordered to reduce your XLGR to a regular LGR, you sign that paper, you have to do exactly what they tell you to do per their guidelines.
Let's be real. The vast majority of the phone calls that Code Blue makes every day are not to people on the program.
Exactly. So
These are
in
not
that
people that
case,
got the lead from Code Blue. Not a chance.
yes. So every carrier that has guidelines, they seem to, when you always call in, treat you like you are a program vendor. I just had to
Yes.
remind our friends at the Good Hands Repair Network that our client in California is not a GHRN vendor, and a GHRN vendor comparative scope means nothing in the conversation. And I think that people should defend their equipment usage.
Yeah, I
Now,
think they should too. And it's about more than the money for me. But I'm
right,
also not a restorer. I'll be 100%. I don't work for a restoration contractor anymore. So I get to be big and brave and bold with other people's money because
yeah,
I'm not in the seat. I'm not in that chair.
to add to that, the problem that most contractors run into is that they haven't done the calculation work.
Yeah,
As to
right.
why, and if they would do that, if they would go back to the paper, if they would go back to the psychometric charts provided to us for the S500 WRT course, they would have this stuff and they would know that they have to have this many linear feet for air movers.
And I
Based on the
think
CAT.
that's what Mr. Spears was getting at, and I agree wholeheartedly. Because then you're making these decisions from a point of knowledge. You know what your numbers are, you know what they should have been, and then you can afford to go, okay, where's our wiggle room? Where am I willing to give up? What points am I going to stick to no matter what, and what points am I going to be able to back out of? So, but yeah, I would agree. Yeah, what you were saying, I can't say Joe because there's two Joes now. So I'm gonna.
You can just call,
I think
call him
Moberly.
Joe
It's
and
gonna
call
be
me Joseph.
Moberly and Joe. I mean, that's what it's gonna be. Mobes, you're Mobes today.
Mobes.
Uh,
I've been
but-
called a million things. Mobes is one of them.
But Joe is saying that most people undersize their air movement, and I would say across the industry it's probably 50%. We're not using enough air movers. And if you do
Right.
use that calculation, that recommendation, I love this. Carriers and adjusters and third parties love to pull the IICRC out when it comes to pints per day and dehumidification. But they don't want to talk about that every 16 linear foot of unbroken wall space needs an air mover on it. You start throwing that calculation at them.
Right.
And, oh, well, if you're going to take this dehu away, I should have had 5 more air movers there, but I didn't. So I'm going to charge you for those.
Right.
Fair,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
But you didn't have the 5 air movers there.
I also didn't have a large dehu. I had an XL. Right? Mobes. Oh, there's
I'm
a
live.
There's
I'm
a
live.
guy. There's a guy who looks like he has a Discord channel.
And real quickly.
Andy, look.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. I love
Very
it.
Just wait till I get my Death Star lit up.
And guys,
Make it
it's really,
happen.
especially if you guys are sketching like in the field actively, it's really easy to
These are
figure out
brown
your air movements without hardly any effort. Here, I'm going to share my screen real quick, guys, while Andy's up here, and I'll show you guys how I do it.
It's super easy. It's not science. I mean,
So
it's
I've got
barely
this-
math.
I've got this whole room here, right? And I got to figure out how many air movers I need for this room, right?
Okay.
All you got to do is go to your main folder here. If I want to do, we'll start with DHs. DHM. It's volume divided by a class 250. So that's 183. So I know it's at least one extra large DHU. And then if you're going to charge for another, you can, as soon as you hit 159, you're over to the next DHU. If you're doing air scrubbers, it's volume divided by or multiplied by 6 air changes per hour divided by 60, 915. A regular air scrubber is good for up to 699. So I know at least it's either 2 regulars or 1 extra large.
Piece of cake.
If I'm doing dry air movers, it's 1 per every 50. I personally do 50 square feet for centrifugal and 70 for axials. I'll do 60 if I have a mixture of them. That's how I always do it. But it's 1 per 50 to 60 square feet. So we'll say centrifugal. So divided by 50. That's 22 air movers plus 1, 2,
Square
3,
foot.
4, 5, 6,
No,
7,
no,
8,
no.
10.
Air movers not unless you're using axials to dry substrate or carpet. Air movers are linear foot of wall. They're not square foot.
It's every 50 to 60 square feet. It's one per
Square
room.
foot? Really?
The,
Who has that? Who has that? I want to see
I
it.
have it right here. I have it right here.
Okay.
I can show you.
I want to see it. There you go.
One for every, it's one per room. So I have 13,
The
1, 2, 3,
S500,
4,
okay.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rooms. So that's
Which
a base.
reference is that?
Did they
10
get rid
rooms.
of the? Did they get rid of this 16 linear foot? Is
Yeah.
this? Is
It's
this?
one, it's one for every 50 to 70 square feet of affected flooring up to 2 foot. So that's the floor and then up the wall, no more than 2 foot. It's one for every 100 to 150 square feet for ceilings plus the walls 2 foot and higher. And then one for every 18 inch of
So class.
offset.
So what's that? What would number 2 be? Class 3, and then
Yeah,
class 4 is off the charts.
Is
Well,
this
class-
5th edition?
Yeah.
Of the 500?
See, here's the thing, you have to base it on the length of the walls and how cut up and how many partitions and when there's doorways and openings.
Mobes,
See,
I'm
that-
with you 100%, but it sounds
Because
like
that's what
they
matters.
took that out. But they took that out of the. They took that. Did they really take that out of the last version
Hang
of
on
the
here, I'll-
S500?
Yeah, they
Uh,
did, but they put in there that the restorer shall make the determination for the equipment. The restorer shall decide the cat and the class, and you
Well, that's
can't
been in there for
downgrade
a
it.
couple iterations.
Yes, but then when it comes to cat and class, this 5th edition is the one where they hit it home for us finally, where they said a carrier can't downgrade it, even an ATP test. You can't downgrade a cat or class based on some desk adjuster's opinion. Which I'm
Okay.
open to discuss things when they come up, but when they started putting stuff like that in there, that's where the insurance companies, they're not even caught up to 5th edition yet.
Here's 5th
Because-
edition, page 68,
Look
69.
at that.
Every 50 to 70 square feet, 100, and then offsets.
And then
So-
each wall offset greater than 18 inches.
So what do you
Okay.
see? If it's cat 3, it's every 50 feet. If it's cat 2, it's every 60.
I base
If
it
it's
off
cat-
of, since it's based off of, I mean, it's supposedly, it's based off of your CFM ratings, where an axial produces more CFM than so I've always done 50 if I have centrifugal fans, 6 or 70 if it's only axials, and then 60 if it's
Okay.
if it's a mixture of the two.
So
We're gonna test this out, Andy.
when it comes to equipment, why don't we all just go to this? Because it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we actually did. When it comes to equipment, we're going to be negotiating it anyway. So
Yeah,
why
it doesn't
don't
matter
we-
what we do. They'll come up with another thing to say
No,
that
it
they
really
won't allow
doesn't.
that.
It
Right.
really doesn't. You know, they're already to the point. Well, yeah, I didn't see that air mover in a picture. Right.
Well, and then, the thing is though, is it's the new way the calculation reads is like I said, it's per 50 to 60 square feet. So like this dining room, it's roughly a 12 by 12.
I
Right?
just thought of something. So when an adjuster comes to you and says, well, per the IICRC, you should have had a large DHU instead of an extra large DHU. And you just respond back and say, well, I don't see a picture of your large DHU on my job site.
Just tell them you think that they should have a large donut and, you know,
Here's a large
Which-
freaking
Which
donut.
large to you isn't large to me.
No.
just come in there and be like, listen, Miss Adjuster, you don't have to be a
Listen,
size queen
Linda.
with me.
Hey, Linda. Welcome.
Okay, so here we'll do it like this. Here we'll do a little example here. I'm going to make a little room here up.
No, I know what you're saying. The square footage, that plays, and we
So
can
like this-
calculate it really easily.
WTR, DRY for the air movers. It's
Let's see
one
what he
per
comes up
room.
with.
It's one per room, so you already have one.
But I think if they, so it's 1+.
It's one, so F plus 2PF is 218. 218 divided by 50, 4.36, so that's 5 plus 1. So they're saying that a 12 by 12 room like this, that has a 2'8" opening and an 8 foot opening over here, should need 6 air movers for this room if you're just drying the walls, the baseline, and the floors.
I'll go
Okay.
with 6 because I was gonna be like 4 minimum.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
so
yeah.
Well, 4 or
You know,
5,
so-
yeah. Yeah, so I think the next time someone is being beat down with the IICRC, we should beat back and say, well, I'm more than willing to change my DHU sizing if you allow me to put in the appropriate number of air movers.
well, that's like this sketch here I'm working on. It's a total of 1,050 square feet. F plus 2 PF divided by 50 is 21. So 22 air movers plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rooms. So that's 32 air movers. And then all I do is I look at my schedule and say, I'm going clockwise. Every time I go counterclock, I'm going to turn clockwise here. Bloop, bloop. Oh, I got to turn here in 1, 2. This is all I do.
Mhm.
And you can calculate out 34, 30. So this one needs roughly 36 air movers on it. And I guarantee you that most people would probably put 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I wonder
Like
if you
2 under
could
the staircase, so 12, 13.
Sounds right. 30. I'd say 30.
But
Yeah.
that's how I calculate out my numbers here. And I mean, I've done numbers where it's literally been freaking like 96 air movers. And
Yep.
the adjusters are like, when you put that note in here and you're like, I put on my note here, this is how many square feet divided by 50 is this here. 1
Mhm.
per room, 10 rooms, this many also. What?
Uh-oh.
Go get your candy. You're fine. You want
This-
your candy corn's on the table downstairs.
I
Go
think
get it.
we need to unify. We need to come together and start using this.
But I mean,
as an
like
industry.
this is how my
I
note
think
reads
Joe
every
should
time I do
teach
it
the
with
class.
air movers. Every time I do it, I put the calculation like this here out. I never get any kickback on it. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I end up saying the way this ends up reading is it reads, job site required 36 air movers, job was dried using 30. And that way there they
Conservative.
know that we actually used less than what we actually
Mhm.
needed and still
Right.
was successful at it.
Conservative estimate.
I still don't see a picture of their large DU. I don't see it. Sorry.
But I mean, like I said, everyone has their own kind of unique way of
I
doing.
can't charge for
estimates.
something if I don't have a picture of it.
I
Including
could see you
garbage.
putting in 100,000 air movers, but they only had 90,000 in there, and you have to tailor that to what was actually there too.
Hey, can I? I'm going to share. We're going to share the Facebook page here real quick. I'm going to blow this up. Maybe not. Has anyone gotten this message from this person, Matthew Konk?
What the
Concy.
hell is that?
Concy.
Konsi?
That's not a good name.
Pronounced Kunzel.
What?
Yeah, Kunzel.
Does anyone know him? No, I can't
Matt
find the
Kunzel?
message.
What's he want?
Let me read it to you. Come here. Oh, it's right here, but it won't show up. Nope. Oh, craptastic. Look at me
Craptastic.
fumbling. Where is it?
It's under block. It's under blocked.
It's got to be under blocked because I can't see it. Let's try it one more
It's
time.
because you haven't
Here it is.
confirmed your friendship, maybe.
Friend request. No, I'm sorry, but here's a message. Here it is.
Everybody wants to be your friend.
So, hello, Andy. How are you doing? If you've been in any way affected by Hurricane Ian and are having any sort of issues such as property damage or trouble and headache with your insurance, I have some awesome people who are helping neighbors, blah, 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 blah. This is a
Public
this is spam.
adjuster.
He's working for an adjuster. I am not the only one that I've seen this. I saw this message in a different group from Cal Spoon. This guy sent Cal Spoon this message. So in the nature of just being like, hey guys, this is what's going on out here. We don't, just because someone messages you and talks some lingo doesn't mean that you really actually want to talk to them. And more of this is me publicly calling out Mr. Kunkel,
Kunsel,
um,
Kunsel.
saying, dude, don't do this. No
It's
one wants to be
console.
communicated this way. If you want jobs, go find a different way.
No one wants to see his
prospecting-
hairy chest.
Yeah, no one wants to
Fishing.
see
In a
it.
jacuzzi.
Prospecting in this way is just
He's in
lazy.
California.
It's
It
lazy.
looks like he's in California.
Yeah.
They
Anyway,
do things differently, don't they?
I'm going to click this button that says,
Thank
I
you.
don't want to hear from Matthew Cunt. So there we go. Block. Yes.
I have a topic, Andy, for you here, because this is one that we had in the group, and there was some I think it was in our group, it might have been one of the others, but it got kind of a heated little discussion. What is your stance on extension cords? Do you think extension cords are a billable item on a project, or do you think
I
that
think it depends on the project. It depends on how it's set up.
If it's T&M, you can bill for
T&M,
power
large
equipment.
loss, absolutely. T&M, large loss every day. But I'm not a fan of people adding things to the bill just because they think they can charge for it. Just like I'm not a fan of charging for IR cameras anymore. There's a difference between using an IR camera to quickly scope a water damage situation and using an IR camera as part of a bigger, larger water damage moisture mapping report in a consulting basis, right? There's two different ways to use that same tool. If you're just using an IR camera, and I've got one behind me that, that's the first thing we get out. Just like we don't charge for our meters anymore, we don't charge for IR cameras anymore. And so we shouldn't charge for drills or extension cords, unless, like I said, it's on your schedule of fees and it's a large loss T&M situation.
my thing is with extended cords is I don't understand why anybody even needs them anymore. Almost every air mover you buy nowadays comes with, ability to daisy chain them in and plug them into each other, which minimizes your need for extended cords. But also if you're having power issues to the point where you normally in the past would use extension cords, that's a perfect time to pull out a power distribution box and plug it into the 220 outlet. And then you have one single cable running through the house instead of 5 or 6 cables running down the staircase and everything else.
But then you
I mean,
charge for that. You
and you charge for that.
Oh, man.
My
You
favorite
need extension
line item,
cords.
my favorite
You-
line item
you
still
need-
to this day is
you need it-
ELE
well-
Econ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you don't need extension cords. So I don't agree with you that we don't need extension cords. I think there's a time and a place always for extension cords. But charging
was
for them is
like-
different.
I was like, Joe Spears, when's the last time you've been on a drying job and set it up, buddy?
Yeah.
You can daisy
I
chain.
literally have
Last week,
two-
probably, though.
I literally have two 25-foot extension cables that I carry for my power tools, but I do not ever use, I don't ever use power or extension cords for my drying equipment. I'm the quickest one to pull out 2 spider boxes if I have to and plug them up to the dryer and stove or hardwire them into the electrical panel. Like I'd rather, and then minimize the house power. That way they don't have to have people say they pop their breakers because they made popcorn or they turn the TV on and it popped everything off. Like it's all on a dedicated,
Well,
220
it's
breaker box.
it's problematic using
It
extension
depends on the
cords.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the job for sure.
But then again,
yeah.
every single air mover we own at my company, every one of them can daisy chain into each other. So I can daisy chain 5 or 6 in a row and go further than any extension cord we probably have in our shop right now.
Okay,
Because
how many amps is that 6? How many amps is it per air mover?
actually I can look and see. I haven't really looked that long. I can usually
2?
get six air movers on a cord before it pops the breaker.
2.7 on a economical snail fan, like a Viking.
So peak, let's go 3. So
Yeah.
3 times 6 is 18 amps. You're overloading that circuit.
That's when you need the cord if you need to
You pull the
bridge
cord from
power.
a different area to get to a different circuit.
Well, also the amount of people that use the same gauge, tiny ass extension cable instead of the proper cable that's just as dangerous.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
and keep in mind, you've got amperage drop every 25 foot of cord. You're losing 1 or 2 amps. Period. So you got a 50 footer. You're down 5 amps before you even turn on a fan, just because of the resistance in that line in that cord. Yeah, I think extension cords, I've used them historically just to get more power from unaffected areas of the house.
They could be needed or not needed. They're sometimes needed, but it's only to bridge things or to do
Yeah.
something to continue the chain further.
And the thing about pulling power off of 220, which I'm not afraid to do either, but you're shutting down the kitchen or you're shutting down the laundry room. You're shutting that room down for the duration of the project. And the project itself might not be that big. It might not warrant it, but you still need the power somewhere.
Laundry room and the kitchen could be upstairs, so you might have to run the spider box from a 220, but then you'll have to run supply line cables that are like a 3-way down to
I'm
your
always run,
equipment.
I mean, I run I'll run extra 50 foot of 220 line from the plug on the stove or, dryer, or from the breaker panel hardwired into the breaker panel itself. And then I have just one single cable I have to worry about trip hazards on, instead of having 5 or 6 that I got to bunch together and try to tape them down so it's safe. And all, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not saying that there's not a need at all for extension cables, but the need, I mean, with the way air movers are nowadays, with the readily availability of spider boxes, because the big yellow ones used to be fairly expensive. Now they got the little small blue ones, they have the 2-foot cable on them. They're readily available. Like, those should be your go-to when you need power, more so than just a extension cable. Because I remember being a tech, I don't think I ever gave a damn. I just grabbed a cable and went with it. I never paid attention to, well, is this the right thick, right gauge cable and everything? And I'm not gonna lie, there's been a couple times where a cable, got itself cooked because it was pulling too much power through.
Yeah. Extension
Bring
cords
a house,
are
bring
problematic.
a house for the room. Bring a house for the room.
Mm-hmm.
You never know
Hey,
what you need.
let's talk about collections. We got about 7 minutes left. That's gonna be awesome. Let's talk about. I want to talk about. I've been in communication and negotiating with a company that performs, I think, was a vital service to the industry. So, how much time? In Spears, you're going to have more experiences. Jennifer, you can chime in. Mitch, definitely, I want to hear from you on this. I got a question for you. Here you go. How much time do you spend as the owner or CFO chasing money on chasing adjusters, chasing homeowners, trying to get collections out of folks?
It's a lot.
Yeah. What percentage of your day? Let's make it simple. What percentage of your day is in collections?
I chase
If
it every
that's
day
your
all day.
job function.
I'm a legal extortionist for insurance, so I chase it all day.
I mean, I've always.
My
every-
input,
Go ahead, sorry.
I just want to preface with the importance of making sure you're collecting the money in a timely manner as it relates to insurance, is that your insurance is based on your projected gross revenue. Typically, if you're in one of these package policies, your premium and how much you pay every year is based on your projected gross revenue. So I have a guy right now who has a $300,000 job that he's not getting paid on because he's trying to chase the money, but he's up for renewal. And so when I asked him to provide me the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet, I'm having to say, I'm sorry that you didn't get the money yet, but I have to base it on your total business. So for you guys, I think it's really important to chase the money, not because you need it also, but because it's the trickle effect where your premium is being based on your gross revenue. So it would be nice that the numbers matched what you're projecting, so you're not paying more or less. For me,
I solved that problem by just going cash instead of accrual. Yeah, it's not
helps.
revenue until I see the money for me on my side.
Yeah.
And there's a lot.
You're right.
of
That's a great, Andrew, that's a great idea. So what he's saying, for those of you that may or may not know what he's saying when you provide the profit, loss, and balance sheet, send them over based on cash, not on
cash
accrual.
basis.
And then also make sure that you provide the P&L and balance sheet that's based on the policy period, not year to date.
Interesting. Good advice. Hey, Stringer, you got a microphone hooked up today?
I do, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. What are your thoughts on what percentage of your time you spend chasing money?
Man, you should be doing that every day, all day. Okay.
Well, when are you going to run your business?
No, so this is part of the plan. This
That is running.
daily plan of you're waking up. You should be going through your WIP as a project manager, mitigation manager, branch manager, owner, CFO, marketer. Everyone should be going through their WIP at least once a day, if not, or every other day, minimum.
It's everyone's responsibility to collect the money or do an activity that leads to you collecting money.
Correct.
Prioritize your activity.
So I'm going to give you guys a good tip that I figured out during COVID. That for me to get the money, I can't front all this money all the time like you guys all think I can, but coming up with somebody's $30,000 premium and 25% down, that's hard for me to want to front all the time unless I love you a lot. So what my new thing now is I'll just say, hey, you know what? I really need you to send me a copy of the check. Send me a copy of the check. So they'll text me a copy of the check. I then take the check and send it as an email to myself. I then take my trusty cell phone, go onto my Wells Fargo app, take a picture off of my computer screen, and then I have my own check that I flip over and endorse it as the backside image. And I get my money instantly. Just an idea.
Yeah, that just doesn't really lend itself to the restoration space and what we're doing.
I mean, I'm talking about last resort. If you're just trying to get
Yeah.
the money, it's an option.
So Mitch, you didn't really answer the question though. How much time is spent?
I would say, so, well, we have a CFO that's constantly on board in doing that. We go
So
through
it's a
our
full-time,
project-
it could be a full-time job. It could be a full-time job for
We
a
do have a
position.
full-time bookkeeper collecting on daily basis.
Okay.
Everybody goes through a weekly push. So we probably have, through the 5 branches, people, a good solid 1 day, 10 hours where everybody is doing all that specifically.
What if
Now-
I told you that there's a company that would collect that money for you? They would chase it down for you.
Okay, that's my company. What is it? That's why we're getting paid. That's your job. That's part of your job description. So we not only, here's the kicker here, and this is what it encourages a lot of our people. Maybe I don't have the problem a lot of people have. So as getting a salary, your bonus or your part of your wages is based off your collections. Now, when I was a real hard ass in the industry, if you did not collect before the lien date, you lost your commission. Absolutely, it was over. You're done.
Well, yeah, because
not my job,
now it's costing the
your job.
company money. Why would anyone get a commission on that?
Correct.
Yeah, they didn't do their job. They didn't do
It's
their
over.
job well. That was one of the
It's
hardest things that one of the hardest lessons I learned as a up and coming project manager, estimator type guy, write and run guy, was when shit gets sideways, I didn't get paid, and it only took a couple times missing out on like 10 grand. And I was like, oh man, that really hurts because Christmas was coming. I really could have used that.
What we got in place now is through the 5 branches, we have a weekly scorecard. And that score, you're scored from the CFO who's collecting all these funds and depositing all these funds and closing these projects out.
Hey, Mitch,
How long
sorry
does
to
it
interrupt,
take
guys. I gotta go. I'm gonna talk to you
Hey,
guys.
see
all
you, Joe.
Joe, good to see you, man.
See you, Joe.
Oh, you're
So
bright. Thanks.
that scorecard is delivered every week to us. And there is a little bit of inner office rivalry. Who's collecting the sooner, who's not. And so then, instead of just burying that one person that's not collecting, there'll be a lot of people that will step up and assist branch X collect that money. Branch Y, as in the estimating department here, I probably got 3 or 4 or 5 people that are depending on us to get that number to the insurance company. Now we have 4 or 5 people stepping up to the plate making phone calls. let's get on this. And I mean, in a short amount of time, that money is coming. So that's probably if you have that kind of a structure, you're going to get your money sooner.
Yeah. So One Claim Solution is the company out of Phoenix, Arizona. If you got an AOB in your contract, they will chase that money on behalf of you as a contractor. They can't do it unless you have an AOB in place, because then you don't even have standing.
AOB
Assignment
benefits. There are
of
some states that are not allowing that. It's illegal to do that. Iowa being one, Nebraska just put that into place.
Nebraska has an anti-AOB.
They placed it in. I think it's 1726. What was the number? They just put that in 2 years ago because of the door knockers. You know, I had so many hailstorms there, and I mean, literally, I had one client save all the door knockers, just the door knockers, in Omaha, Nebraska, and he had 109 different companies to put door knockers on his door in 2013.
109. That's a lot.
It's not counting all the guys that were already there.
Yeah, but what's an anti-AOB statute going to do against door knockers?
You cannot do assignment of benefits. It's illegal.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with door knocking and solicitation.
Well, no. I'm just going back to what are the situations there. This is the reason why you asked me, why did Nebraska do it? That's the reason why. Because these guys were doing an assignment of benefits, and then literally the homeowner had no idea that they took that $10,000 estimate of the insurance company, and now it has $228,000, and it's going to court, and their house is being liened, and just on and on and on. It was pretty incredible. You had to check that one out.
What a mess.
It was a nightmare.
Well, everywhere it's not illegal. And
Right?
it can be used.
Yeah.
If used
So
right.
anyway, I'm going to be putting some stuff out. Mitch, I'm going to get a hold of you specifically and talk to you about it. They're onboarding a select group of contractors currently. So let's have that conversation. And I just wanted to put that in the group, that there is a company out there that will go get your money for you, and they will have those hard conversations. They got an attorney on staff, and things go sideways, they'll run it all the way through the appraisal process, come hell or high water. But
that catches my eye, and that's something that I'd like to be. Let's have a conversation on that.
Yeah. Send me a message so I have your phone number again.
I'll do that.
And all y'all out there in the interwebs, if you're interested in hearing more about One Claim Solution, let's set up a phone call. Let's see if we're a good fit. Because I think it's huge. Even if I'm not real clear on what their total take is, but even if it's 10%, let's say it's 10% of the MIT, but you're getting your check in 30 days or less. And you don't have to spend the time on the phone and email hunting this stuff down. On the MIT side, I think it's worth it. It's worth it because you're replacing a full-time body in your operation, or 2 or 3, depending on the size of your operation. And they go get you paid. And they're huge fans of changing price list, customizing your price list for your business. Anyway, I had several conversations with these guys, and they're awesome. I can't believe they're not blown up already, but they will be soon.
It sounds promising, Andy.
Yeah.
What's their name again? I'm sorry.
One Claim Solution.
Well, good to know.
Yeah. So anyway, we're 6 minutes past. It's good to see y'all. If you had something you really, really wanted to talk about, sorry, we're done.
Hey, has anyone ever gone to that national disaster convention that's popped up out of nowhere?
Which one?
It's a new one. It's brand new, hot off the press.
That's what we need. We need another industry conference. Like we need another hole in my head.
They're coming from London, and they just did one in Florida, and they're coming to Anaheim, California, and they call themselves they call themselves the National Flood What are they called? Hell, National Disaster Expo.
National Disaster Expo, huh?
And they're having an event November 9th and 10th in Anaheim Convention.
The Heat
Center.
and Fire Expo California.com. Wow. All right. We'll give them some free airtime here. Let's check it out.
Just curious what we know about them. They say they're from London. 4,000 or 5,000 people. And Paul Davis has a lot to do with them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure NOAA, they're associated with NOAA. Yeah. And NOAA goes around and giving your logo out for people to use. No.
Okay.
I hate it when companies they just pull logos that say, oh, this adds credibility. There's no association there. Okay, so who are these guys?
Nobody I know.
American Red Cross. Okay, keynote from
FEMA. Hey, now that gets me right there. FEMA.
He's a keynote speaker. Well, how many keynotes are you going to give? It's only one day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 6? You're going to give 6 keynotes?
Yeah, but if you pay $8,000, you get to be a keynote. And
You can
spend
you,
$6,000
you
for a
pay-
10 by 10 booth.
you
Yes.
pay to be a keynote.
That's, I said thanks, but no thanks.
Oh my God.
So important.
Are you
This
kidding
seems-
me?
This seems like it's for fire, EMS, and government and emergency response agencies that are concerned with continuation of government under an F1 situation or disaster. Yeah, can I say something real quick, Andy?
Uh-huh.
When it comes to collection and everything going on in the world, let's have a follow-up meeting. This is the first one I've been on in forever, and you wouldn't let me in
Okay.
for 20 minutes. I'm just kidding. This is the first one I finally went out and got a nice decent cam mic and headphones set up. I'm like all wired up.
Yeah, you look cool. You're
Well,
cool.
thanks.
He's like
I'm
a
the gear
gamer.
guy.
Especially
do
with
game,
that Darth
too.
Vader face you got going on.
Oh man, I'll get the Death Star lit up next week. It's like a
Wait.
nice green color.
It's exciting.
We should talk more about collection and that because we're hearing some disturbing reports on contractors and what they're doing for collection. And I mean, I got a call from someone today that's just a contractor for one of our clients, and they're like, hey, our GC owes us 30 grand. And I know that they're dealing with stuff out in California. And I'm like, holy crap.
Well,
And I was
so
like-
there's a sub is owed
That I've
30
only
grand?
talked to once. And they're like, we can't get a hold of the office. And
Mm,
Wow.
things are expensive out there and people need money. Inflation is hitting. It's
Mhm.
Oh, come on, you're not paying $7 a gallon for gas.
yeah, collections
Yeah.
is okay. Let's talk. Let's make
Yeah,
next
I
week.
heard that guy say that.
Next week, let's make it collections week. Let's do that.
Sounds good. That's a great
It's a
topic.
good topic.
insurance companies are going insolvent. You got people that can't afford to pay their bills. You think
I
insurance
know.
companies are gonna pay faster, folks? No,
No,
they're just
No.
not.
they're gonna slow it down.
They're not.
Yep.
They're gonna slow it down. All right, all y'all tech people out there, go to the Discord. I'll have to come up with a URL that's easier.
Do we have a Discord?
We do now, as of an hour and a half ago.
You're cool.
There, I put it in the chat again.
Thanks.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Wow.
because Slack wasn't enough. I needed another window open on my desktop. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for being here. All y'all on internet land, be
Okay.
good, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, see ya.
Okay.